Sex ed teachers of Reddit, what is the stupidest question you've ever gotten? Was taking a bath when about 8 months pregnant. X walks in. All color drains from his face and he panics. He thought the baby's umbilical cord was attached to my belly button and that with my belly button underwater, I was in fact drowning our child. Volunteered at a teen education program for Planned Parenthood in the late 80s. Had a 16-year-old or so girl that had gotten pregnant but swore she had used the pill. Turns out she was inserting the pill into lady parts instead of ingesting orally. One of my friends in high school took health as a senior. After already having taken honors anatomy and physiology and AP biology, he was in a class full of freshmen. So he played dumb the whole time. Whenever the teacher introduced a new organ or topic, for example, the metatarsals, he'd raise his hand and ask, with a straight, slightly confused face, is that where that he goes? Is it normal for one of your testicles to be smaller than the other two? A kid in my health class asked if you could keep sperm, like pets, in a fish tank. Not a sex ed teacher, but I've had my younger brother come to me for help. He wanted me to buy him and his girlfriend Plan B, being the good older brother that I am. Sometimes, I drove them to Shoppers and paid $40 for the Plan B. She takes it. Then I lecture them on Sappho-6 practices. I see a dumb look on their faces. I immediately ask if they knew what condoms were for. His girlfriend, with a completely serious face, looked at me and said, "But I don't like the taste of condoms." Yeah, that's right. He got his first blowjob. Came in her mouth. She swallowed and thought she was going to get pregnant. My school started sex ed late and I lived in a more conservative about 6 household around 7th grade or 12-13ish years old, and I had heard from my older brother that you could wrap your D and have a 6 with no consequences. That is, pregnancy. Obviously he meant a condom. I did not understand that. So after the teacher did her presentation mainly on abstinence, I raised my stupid 7th grade hand and said, "What do you have to put your D in to not get pregnant?" The conversation went something like this. More than teacher. What? What do you mean? More than. Me. Like what material do you need, paper or sponge or something? More than. Teacher. Let's talk about this after class. So after the rest of the school day I report like a good little boy back to the classroom. More than teacher. You realize this is a serious and very important class to your and the whole world's future, right? More than. Me. Yes, I understand. But why did you call me down here? More than. Teacher, your question in class was very inappropriate and I think you should report to detention. My mind has been blown at this point. So I go to detention, think about all of the things I should have said or done instead. I head home and choose to just ask my brother and the internet instead of sex ed teachers. TLDR. My mistake was asking any question about sex other than how quickly will my D fall off after 6 in sex ed. Full stop. More than if I have a 6 underwater and get pregnant, will the baby be a mermaid? Comma. Responded with the deepest sigh ever and a slow turn to the next question. I think this is all evidence that we need a better sex ed curriculum for teenagers that is not abstinence only. Cousin was a sex ed teacher for a while, before he got his girlfriend pregnant and had to take a higher paying job. Irony. Anyway. This kid asked if he could get a gorilla pregnant because he wasn't interested in girls. I always hated the pictures of a STD riddled D or V followed by the obvious joke, doesn't everyone's look like that? In 4th grade a sex ed friend of mine raised his hand and asked if it was possible to break a boner like you can your arm. The teacher answered no. I've since learned that you can sprain it. We went the rest of the year thinking our boners were invincible, occasionally running around yelling super boner. What happened if a D gets stuck in a V? Grade 7. The sex ed teacher was telling us that the semen is alkaline and the V is acidic. A kid in my class blurted out, "So wouldn't that form a salt and water?" Not a sex ed teacher, but I'm a middle school teacher. One boy, 13, told me he wasn't going to get his girlfriend pregnant because she always douched with Coca-Cola after 6. This was a question asked by me when I was in 7th grade. My teacher had explained what ejaculation was and for some reason, my 7th grade mind thought it was the boy equivalent to periods. I asked where boys put tampons. Yay. That was embarrassing. Not a sex ed teacher, but it's still relevant. I had a roommate in my first year of college who was extremely naive and didn't know anything about sex. Her family was very religious and didn't talk about that stuff. We had to explain to her what a lot of things were, but we assumed she knew the very basics. One day there's a few of us girls sitting around talking about sex. We brought up masturbation and wondered if she had ever tried it before. I yelled to her in the other room, "Hey Emily, have you ever masturbated before?" Her response was UHH. I think it's happened to me before. We were all incredibly confused by this answer, so we asked her to explain. She explained simply that she thinks it's happened to her once or twice before. Turns out she didn't even know what masturbation was. She explained that she thought it was the tingly feeling you get when you like a boy. I'm not a teacher, but when I was pregnant with my first child I got in a huge argument with all of my other co-workers over the baby's location. I said it was in the uterus. They swore it was on top of the uterus. You think you know everything just cause you got pregnant for a few months? I've been a mother for 30 years. I know what I'm talking about. Not a teacher, but in high school our health teacher, during Sex Ed unit, told us a story of a student who was now graduated, who was told by her mother that if a boy poked her in the belly button she would get pregnant. Enter high school. During her junior year she was poked in the belly button by a boy in her circle group. So she slapped him and broke down into uncontrollable sobs. It took nearly half an hour to convince her that no, she wasn't pregnant. My mom was raised in the Soviet Union. There was no sex education. She got pregnant at 17. Married my dad etc. We started talking about sex ed and she blurts out, "I was so stupid that I thought you only got pregnant if you're in a certain position." Cue horrified face and drop of subject. Not a question, but one time I was substituting for an 8th grader sex ed class. The teacher wanted me to show a focus on the family video. They are an extremely right-wing, sex-phobic, anti-gay organization. Fortunately, the video described itself as the ultimate guide to teenager sex in the 90s. As this was about 2010, I told the students that, if any of them planned on having sex in the 90s, to pay attention to the video, otherwise I'll let them chill and ignore the terrible video. Kid asked his mother, "Mom, how come mine's bigger than dad's? Is the G-spot where the gangsters hang out?" Serious question this girl asked my senior year in high school. Is it true that if you don't use it, you lose it? Can your boner fall off if it gets too hard? Not so much stupid, as really sad. I've had people ask me if the pill will really work for them, since they were told by abstinence-only duckers that the pill doesn't work on women under 25 because their hormones are out of whack. I've known girls who got knocked up because they'd been told you can't get pregnant your first time. I don't think any of these people are stupid. They have been willfully misinformed their entire lives. It's beyond sad and it absolutely disgusts me that my state refuses comprehensive sex ed and doesn't require that it be medically accurate. That's just heterosexual people. LGBT folks get absolutely no sex ed, because that would be encouraging the lifestyle. STD rates are sky high among gay people because no one ever sat them down and discussed the risks of sex with them. Not a sex ed teacher but was a student in a sex ed class years ago. We had a question box where anyone who was shy could drop a question in and have it answered by the teacher. Every day the box came around and I wrote down, "How do you beat your meat, Zach?" My name's not Zach, but the D-head who sat next to me was. He got yelled at almost daily. Edit. Thanks M8S. If a white man has sex with a black woman and then has sex with a white woman, can the white woman have a black baby? My Russian Orthodox roommate once asked me, in a whisper, "A blowjob is the same as a quickie, right? Having intercourse so fast that it just blows right by?" Took every ounce of willpower I had to not spontaneously combust from laughter. Once I delicately explained a blowjob, she said, "Oh my god, people do that? With their mouth? That must be the most perverted thing a person can do." Dead serious. 2. There are no stupid questions when it comes to ignorance. If the person truly doesn't know, then it's up to someone who does to show them the correct answer. You can't fault someone for wanting to learn. Everybody is born knowing nothing, so they can grow to learn everything. Ugh, this is making me really self-conscious since I was that ignorant kid. I didn't have a proper sex ed class until my freshman year of college because I went to religious private schools my whole life. I wasn't stupid, but there was a lot for me to learn. I once asked if it was safer to wear 2 condoms, and some loudmouthed trashy H openly laughed in my face in front of everyone. I never asked another question again in that class. When I was about 12/13 I asked my sex ed teacher if people could get an orgasm with food. She answered me that it would depend on where do you put the food. I wasn't expecting that. When I was like 8, I used to think that getting a boner was bad. I was like worried I don't want to hurt my girl. How can this be fun for any of us? I heard about men being incapable of having sex and needing Viagra. In my ignorant mindset, although Viagra was used to make you go soft limp. If you have a sex with a lesbian, will you turn into a hunchback? Obligatory. I'm not a sex ed teacher. A classmate asked how babies are made. He straight up didn't know. He thought it was done by kissing, and that the tongue had to play effective hockey to prevent the seed from fertilizing the egg, which was found in the stomach. This was 8th grade. One kid during an open question portion of our sex ed class in middle school asked if he has a bone in it, and the teacher said no. He responded with OHHHH no. He was always really weird in school, but now that I'm older I think he was just a legendary troll. Not a sex ed teacher, but a kid in my class asked, "What's breasts?" Not a sex ed teacher, but when I had to tackle sex ed in middle school another student asked the teacher how many Dixie cups could a girl fill up during her period. A kid in my class for 5th grade sex ed asked, "Would you die if you cut your D off?" Not a teacher but still relevant. In high school I had a friend who really wanted to have a sex but also thought protection was just super inconvenient. One day, he was bragging to me about how he lost his virginity. Not wanting him to reproduce, I asked him if he at least used protection, to which he replied, "No, we didn't need to. We were both virgins." When I asked why that mattered, he replied, "Nobody gets pregnant their first time. It's like a freeb. Anyway, she gets knocked up," and he concludes she must not have been a virgin since. You know, that's the only explanation. They break up and he starts screwing around with someone else. Thinking he finally learned his lesson, I ask him if he's at least using protection this time, and, once again, he says no. Baffled, I ask why he isn't and he tells me they are just making sure she's on top because she can't get pregnant when she's on top because of gravity. TLDNR. He is paying oh so much child support and I'm left fighting back a fascipum-induced aneurysm. Science teacher was teaching about artificial insemination to year 7, explained that the sperm and the egg were put together in the petri dish. Well, how do they get the sperm after being a teacher for 7 years? I never expected such naivety. I tried to explain in less scientific terms. Then I tried to explain scientifically. Still blank faces.